What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Apollo Justice. We have just pointed out a contradiction? Question mark? Even Apollo isn't sure about this contradiction, but it was something to do about where the bullet entered the head? Something like that. It is, right? Finally!
Objection!
Herr Justice. Oh, Herr Justice. Yes? Your tactics are outdated, trying to shake the witness by objecting to trifles. Surely you haven't forgotten the fatal wound your master suffered 7 years ago. Phoenix Wright, was it? Look, I know the wound was in the wrong place according to this testimony. Hey, her forehead. Forehead? Let us imagine you are walking through the park. You see two men facing each other, one with a pistol trained on the other. What would you do, Herr Forehead? Well, I guess I would try to stop them. I'd probably shout stop. And you, Fräulein? Me? Well, I'd probably scream, eek! And you, Herr Stickler, what did you shout, I wonder? If the victim turned his head at the moment... Ah yes, thank you for jogging my memory. Oh god. Isn't that leading the witness? It sounds like an addendum into the testimony is required. Great. As soon as the killer raised his pistol, I took action. Cease this at once, you two, I cried with composure. The victim turned in the direction of my voice and a shot rang out. Whereupon our cowardly killer, the defendant, appeared to have become frightened. Tossing the pistol aside, he fled from the scene. I see. So you attempted to stop the crime? Indeed, with composure. Well, maybe the criminal wouldn't have fired if he hadn't shouted like that. That doesn't really matter now, unfortunately. Let us consider this new testimony, shall we? Observe the diagram, if you would. The witness, Mr. Stickler, was it, stood here. He shouted, "Oh, stop, please," or something of this nature. And the victim responded by looking in the witness's direction. If the killer were to have fired at just that moment, as we can see, the bullet would have struck the right temple, as in the report. That does seem to be the case. Witness the power of a junior in Ivy University Department of Science. Very well, Mr. Justice, you may cross-examine the witness. I think we can press everything because we just need to present to move on, so... So you saw a raised pistol. Weren't you frightened? It can be said we students of the Ivy University know no fear. The moment I saw that pistol, my inner sense of justice compelled me to take action. That was certainly brave of you. You might have gotten shot. Eh? You certainly were lucky. If I were in the killer's shoes, I certainly wouldn't have left a witness behind. Ooh, that is a very valid point. He actually looks like he had no idea he was in danger. Regardless, I attempted to halt the bloodshed. Are you sure both men were able to hear your voice? They were, of course. My high, exquisite voice echoed through the park, and the victim responded that clarion call. Quite. Did you hear the gunshot at the same time as the victim turned? Indeed, I would say about the same time, to be precise. The victim didn't ask you for help? It can be said that he didn't have time to ask. He didn't even have time to take a single step. I'm totally sure that the killer fired because Mr. Stickler startled him. Don't say that too loud, Trucy, please. Can you describe the killer's actions more clearly? He seems quite surprised, especially considering that it was he who did the deed. As we can see, human psychology is a tangled web indeed. He simply couldn't believe what he had done. He shot, he panicked. A common tale, but true. Unfortunately, before I could take further action... You didn't try to apprehend the criminal? It all happened so fast, I'm afraid I hadn't the time. Doesn't something about that strike you as odd, Apollo? What? The killer was in a hurry, right? He fired the pistol and tossed it right away. According to the testimony, that's what happened, yes. In that case, I expect to find something that we didn't find. Find something? Find what? I liked that contradiction. Kinda sad to see it go. Not as sad as I feel. But what do we do now? At least the testimony is getting a little clearer. She's right. Maybe I can find something to use in this new testimony. Alright, we're gonna present on the last statement about tossing the pistol.
Objection!
Wait a second. Tisk, tisk, another misleading request. Yet you're so beholden to your own model discourse you can't see how it affects you. Come again? Wait a second, you say. A second? Are we intended to wait just that, a single second, 1/60th of a minute? That's hardly enough time to draw breath, let alone make a statement in court. Now, had you asked for a longer period of time, say 3 minutes 35...
Mr. Justice!
Yes, Your Honor.
Am I to understand you are objecting to the length of a second?
Yes, I mean, no. Here, just look at the pistol. It doesn't have a single fingerprint on it. Ah, a common ploy, made all the more common, I fear, by the prevalence of television. Criminals these days are loath to leave fingerprints. Wait, but you said the killer tossed the gun and ran. That's right. He didn't have time to wipe the gun for prints. Ah! I'm sorry, Stickler's just... Ah, the little girl sticking it to the university student. There's a song in there. I'm not little! Then let's think like adults, shall we, Frolin? Huh? What if the killer, the defendant, was wearing gloves? Gotta admit, I didn't think about that, Apollo.
No, we definitely have proof that he wasn't wearing gloves. Well, Mr. Justice.
Could the killer have been wearing gloves? Nope. The record of the murder weapon is very clear about one thing. The fingerprints were wiped, which means some trace of prints remained, which contradicts your testimony. If everything happened as you said it did, he wouldn't have had time to wipe the pistol. That may be, but it does not change what I saw. The killer, the defendant, he threw down the murderous weapon from his hand and fled. And this pistol was found at the scene of the crime, strongly suggesting that this was the weapon he disposed of. That sounds solid to me. Well, Herr Forehead, any of your precious objections? What gives, Apollo? Let's see that voice training go to work. You know, I've only recently realized something. No matter how much you train your voice, it doesn't matter if you have nothing to say. What do you mean, nothing to say? Isn't it obvious from what the witness just said? Huh? Isn't what obvious? When he restated what he saw just now, he said he saw Waki drop the murderous weapon. But that's not the same as being 100% sure what Waki threw away. You're right. He's just confused because a pistol was found at the scene. Poor Mr. Stickler. It must be hard to be so perfect and yet so wrong. Well, it can't be said that I'm quite offended. Well, while it is indeed true that my youth seized the teacher and applied poor might, but...
Oh! What we can say for certain is that the witness saw the killer throw something. Does the defense have anything to say about this?
I do. Well, if what he threw wasn't a pistol, then it had to be something else. At least one person on the defense team seems to be thinking. Ugh, I'll wipe that smile off your pretty face, Gavin.
Perhaps you can inform the court as to the nature of this something else. What did the killer throw away before fleeing the scene? I don't know, his knife? Is that a sword? I saw one of those on the late-night movie last night.
Great, a sleep-deprived judge. This knife was found at the scene of the crime with the defendant's prints on it.
His prints?
This single piece of evidence proves two important things. One, that what the defendant threw down wasn't a pistol. Two, that the defendant wasn't wearing gloves.
Huh, indeed.
Oh, Herr Forehead. You're forgetting two other things that you've just proven. Huh? One, that the man the witness saw was the defendant, Mr. Walkie-Talkie. Two, that the defendant was holding a knife, with the intent of harming the victim.
Oh. Indeed.
Ugh, never underestimate a Gavin is the lesson here.
I thought you knew this already. This court is of the opinion that our witness is fond of making assumptions. In that light, I believe it would behoove us to hear about what really occurred. With less assuming, please. My foot is falling asleep.
It is always the same with you people. Mark left the house on foot, and 5 minutes later his brother left after him. How long would it take for Mark's brother to catch up to him? Assuming that Mark never had to stop for a traffic light. Assuming... Yes, that's what I said, assuming. As if that were a probable situation at all. Yet here you are assuming that my assumption is no better.
Oh, Stickler, just calm down. What this court assumes is that the witness will testify as to what happened after the shot was fired.
I could not prevent the killer from leaving the scene, nor could I simply leave the scene in good conscience. Ergo, I used my cell phone to call the police. Until the police arrived at the scene 10 minutes later, I saw no one else.
Why didn't you chase the killer?
He was, as you say, a killer. Of course, I could have run him down, yet what would he have done when cornered? Sadly, it takes more than an aptitude for solving quadratic equations to know that. Did the testimony earlier not prove the defendant's presence at the scene? And do we not also now know that there was no one else there? It seems clear that we have our killer. Does it not?
Does it not, Mr. Justice?
I better find a way to take this testimony down quick.
I think I'm pressing everything. Hold on a sec. Yep, alright.
This witness is way too self-assured. There's gotta be a weakness somewhere in this testimony.
Looks like Trucy saw something.
Which way did the killer run? By that time, it was clear the killer had noticed me. Naturally, he ran in the opposite direction. That would mean he ran in the opposite direction from the Kataki mansion. Attends, don't even think about pointing out that he was going away from his home. All he had to do was loop back once he was out of sight. Ugh, how do you know that's where I was going?
Trucy really has something to say here.
You were certainly composed for someone who had just witnessed a killing. If one is to devote one's life to the pursuit of science, one must never flinch at the sight of a little blood, nor be so moved by a chemical discovery that one drops one's flask upon the lab room's floor. Oh, cool answer. Very cool.
That I'd, fucked up.
So nothing strange about how he acted. Trucy looks like she has something to say. Wasn't your first thought to call an ambulance? It can be said that I have dabbled in medicine. The injury I witnessed, namely a single shot to the head, tends to result in death. Ergo, there was no need for me to call an ambulance. Oh, a perfect syllogism. A proof in 3 parts. Exquisite. Simply exquisite. He actually looks like he's going to cry.
Oh my god, Trucy really wants to tell me something. But we have to keep pressing.
Can you tell us in detail about these 10 minutes? I stood in a state of heightened awareness. Anything could happen at any moment. Anyone could appear from any direction.
Is that all?
No one came, nothing happened at all. I saw it all, which is to say, I saw nothing.
It was late at night. It's not hard to think there would be few people around in the park.
So he just stood there, watching? Not much to go on there. Drusy, if you got something to say, by all means say it. I can't find a single problem with that testimony. Had enough at last, Hair Forehead. Maybe it's time to back off a bit. No, wait, yes. There's nothing fishy about that testimony at all.
It appears that there are no objections to the witness's current testimony.
There are a number of ways to explain the lack of prints on the pistol, I assure you. Perhaps the killer really was wearing gloves which wiped the previous user's prints off. And then after the deed was done, this fell out of his pocket as he was throwing the gun away. A mistake befitting of a small-time punk, in my opinion. No. No!
It seems we've come to the end of the line here.
No, that can't be all. How unfortunate. It seems that you weren't cut out to stand on the same stage as me. Were you, Hair Forehead?
I believe this brings the cross-examination to a close. This court will now declare a verdict for the defendant, Walkie-Kataki.
Hold it! Ah! Trucy?
Nobody move! What's the meaning of this? Who are you?
There'll be no verdict in this court. Not yet. Wait, are you one of the Katakis?
The Katakis? You mean the notorious gangsters?
If you don't want to see me give the pretty little girl a new smile, do as I say. Adjourn the court for 20 minutes.
What? This court will not bow to the pressure from the likes of...
Judge, I see little point in further aggravating this gentleman. Recess, 20 minutes, or I promise you, you'll regret it. Wait! How'd he disappear so fast? Come to the defendant lobby, Apollo!
I suppose I have no choice but to adjourn for a 20-minute recess. Bailiff, catch that mysterious man!
Was it a man?
I think I vaguely remember this. I was like, I think something happens here, so... No, we're not saving yet. Continuing on.
Trucy! Trucy?
You move quick, Apollo. Good show, good show. I don't know who's talking, if it's Trucy or if it's the gentleman guy.
Trucy, you're okay. I thought... Oh, Apollo! Don't cry, Apollo. Those good-for-nothing gangsters. There are some things you just don't do. I'm pressing charges. Wait, just calm down, Apollo. Or else... I knew it! It's Mr. Hat! Oh, what the heck is that? Surprised? This is one of my best tricks. The amazing Mr. Hat. You look marvelous, darling. He's a big hit on stage at the Wonder Bar. Yes, I am a big hit. Ha ha ha. Well, what do you think? Do you like it? You mean you... Trucy, there are some things you just don't do. I'm pressing charges. Apollo, now is not the time to be threatening me. It's you who's being threatened here. Huh? Remember what you said to Waki's father yesterday? You promised you'd save his son. But that testimony was rock solid. What are you suggesting I do? Look, once the judge declares a verdict, it's all over. If I can use my talent to stop that from happening, I will. Trucy, no more stage abductions, please. I'm not talking about magic, Apollo. I know when the witness isn't confident. I can perceive what he's feeling. It might not mean anything, but it's all we've got. You can see what he's feeling? Think back, Apollo. Think back to the times when there was a contradiction in his testimony. All the times. All the times there was a contradiction. Well, I think I remember them, sure. There were 2 times when he made statements he wasn't confident in, and each time there was a contradiction. In his hand he'd held, yes, a pistol. It was pointed at the man pulling the stand. Tossing the pistol aside, he fled from the scene. He said the man tossed aside a pistol, but it turned out he wasn't sure, and sure enough, there was a contradiction. Well, that's true, but how does that help us? Didn't you notice anything? He plays around with his book. Whenever he made a statement he wasn't confident in, he'd display a certain habit. In his hand he held, yes, a pistol. It was pointed at the man pulling the stand. Did you see it? The very moment he said the word pistol, his fingers got all tense and he fiddled with the corner of a page in his book. How am I supposed to see that? Well, I could see it. How else do you think Daddy went 7 years without losing a game of poker? What?
Jesus Christ, Fright.
I always sat next to Daddy during his big matches.
The plot thickens.
I could see what his opponents were feeling.
You mean that's how Mr. Wright won all those games?
It's not cheating officially. I wasn't looking at their hands or anything. And I wasn't there all the time either. Daddy's quite good at poker after all, but not good enough to go undefeated that long.
Great, so he cheated. But what does that do for us? I don't believe this.
You have to listen to his testimony one more time. No, scratch that. You have to watch his testimony. Perceive the truth.
Watch a testimony? Perceive the truth? The only thing I'm perceiving is that I'm going to lose.
Not true. Daddy said so. He said you have the power, Apollo.
Mr. Wright said that? Watch the testimony, perceive his true feelings. Is she serious?
Time's up. Sorry, I can't think of any other way out of this one, Apollo.
What was that she said before the trial started? Huh, Mr. Wright's not here today.
He said his old foot injury was acting up. Yes, he smiled when he said we'd be fine as long as you're here, Trucy.
Is this what he meant by us being fine? Well, methods aside, she did avoid one guilty verdict already today. Time to show this court what I'm made of. Get ready for justice! Are you ready, though? Let's do it.
Apollo.
You know, I'm starting to think I can do this.
I knew you could do it all along. Oh, one more thing.
I love that animation.
Try to cover for Mr. Han as best as you can.
I just flew in from the coast, and boy, are my arms tired. Right. We are totally okay. We are totally fine. Yes, we are. Court is now back in session. Right, we're fine. Ahem. I'd like to say to the young lady standing next to you, Mr. Justice.
Oh, you mean me?
Don't you have anything to report? Anything concerning the mysterious phantom in the silk top hat? Right, him. Don't worry about him. I settled that. I punched him. You settled that? Yes, it was an out-of-court settlement. Right. Perhaps Fraulein would have us believe it was nothing more than a passing dream. A fantastic illusion. Now you see it, now you don't. Am I right?
I think he's on to me.
I wish he would stop being so cool. Let us dispense with these niceties and get straight to the matter. What are your plans for your gifted witness? Right. The defense would like to request another cross-examination. Because I forgot to ask something. Apollo! There was no issue with the witness's previous testimony. I will grant your request, however, but this court will not permit stalling for time. Understood, Your Honor.
Don't forget, Apollo. When he isn't sure about something, he has a habit of fiddling with his book.
Oh, now we know where to press, right? Here we go. Or, Alright, I couldn't press anything yet. I'm not sure I'm qualified to watch testimonies after all.
Focus, Apollo. Find his weak spot.
Focus. If only it were that easy. My ears hear what he says, my eyes see his expression. Do I have to do something more? What other senses do I have? What's this? My bracelet? What's going on? My bracelet feels different somehow.
I think Daddy was right. You can see it, can't you, Apollo? You're almost there. Find the weak spot in his testimony.
I know this sounds crazy, but my bracelet is trying to tell me something. Well, let's press that one statement where he's flipping the bookie book. So, you called immediately after witnessing the murder. The police undoubtedly have a record of the call. Why not check with them?
Wait, Apollo! This has to be it!
Wait, you mean his habit?
Don't forget, Apollo. When he isn't sure about something, he has a habit of fiddling with his book.
The only time he even had the book open was there. Which means this is the place to look for this habit. I don't know how I know, but I know.
Know what?
It's my bracelet. It's different, somehow. I can feel it reacting to something about the witness.
Your bracelet?
I'm not sure I get this focus stuff you were talking about, Trucy, but I have a feeling that trusting my bracelet is the way to go. Oh, when did that bracelet show up on the bottom of my screen? Okay, I just need to touch my bracelet as it reacts to the testimony. What's going on? I can see the witness's face and expression so clearly. It's filling my mind. I can see nothing else, hear nothing else.
Apollo?
Trucy, what's happening to me?
This is what I meant by focusing.
Focusing?
In this state, you can see everything, Apollo. Everything the witness does.
That's great, but this is kind of freaking me out.
Just look for Mr. Stickler's, twitch, his habit. You remember it, right?
Sure. When he says something he's not sure of, he fiddles with a page of his book.
You got it. Right now, you're looking at the witness's face. And your eyes are sort of bugging out.
I'll bet they are.
First, move your focus of attention down to Mr. Stickler's hand.
His hand?
You know what to look for now, but you have to be looking at the right place.
She's right. I can only see his face like this. Time to try changing my viewpoint.
Perfect! Now you're really ready!
Ready for what?
Ready to perceive the truth behind the twitch.
Perceive.
Try listening to the witness talk as you focus. Then watch for his habit.
Right, you mean when he fiddles with the page.
That's right! That's your signal to look closer to perceive. Find his weak spot, and I guarantee we'll be able to give him the royal flush.
Spoken like a true pokerhead's daughter.
I'm a magician, thank you very much.
So I have to pay attention to his words and his fingers.
Don't worry if you miss it. You can always try again.
Right. Look out, nervous twitch. Here comes justice.
Gotcha!
I saw it. Just now I could see it.
Mr. Justice, do you have something to say?
All this banging of a desk, it's quite bad for my circulation, you know. Mr. Stickler, allow me to ask you a simple question. Why did you fiddle with the page of your book just now? The very moment you mentioned your cell phone.
What are you talking about?
I'm curious now about this cell phone of yours. Mind if I ask a few questions? What to ask? Can I save here? I can't save here. Sorry, we were, running short on time. I think we're almost hit the 30-minute mark now, so we're gonna answer this question in the next video.
So I'll see you guys then.